Hello, hello, my friend. It's about that time. We are back at it this Saturday, wonderful Saturday afternoon, with some more game dev. I didn't do any game dev stuff last week because I was feeling a little lazier in terms of. Oh, actually, I noticed that my microphone is. Oh, I think I fixed it just by bumping the gain knob. But or actually, it's always like either you like slightly move it, and it drastically changes the sensitivity. I don't like that. Why is it so sensitive? Why so sensitive? I gotta put on my headphones to make sure that it's fine. There we go. Well, yeah, eh, eh. Trying to figure it out. I don't know why. Usually it's not fucky, but it's fine now. Anyway, we are going to be doing some game dev stuff today. I didn't do it last time because I was feeling pretty lazy. But Temp had told me that my game dev streams actually ended up getting a solid amount of views and a solid amount of likes, more so than most of my videos on my YouTube. And by the way, if you want to check out the first game dev stream that I did, which is where I was trying to hash out the concept for what I wanted to do, it's up there on YouTube. And then I'm gonna be putting the second stream up on YouTube probably today as well. I've been kind of lazy with uploading my VODs just because I'm not used to doing it. However, I've been downloading the streams locally and they take up a lot of space. So it's been kind of every time I look at how much space I'm using on my computer, I'm reminded that I have like video files that are 30 gigs each around. So that's a lot. Like right now I have enough streams to pretty much be if you put them all together, it would be a Steam game in terms of size. But yeah, I'm just gonna be doing game dev stuff today. I'm gonna go through a lot of the changes that I did in my own time in developments because I didn't want to. I figured it would be kind of boring just to watch me go through a tutorial because a lot of it is just me listening to the tutorial and following along with it. I'm not really doing anything like crazy or unique or anything. So I did some of the tutorial stuff on my own and I made a solid amount of progress. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do something different as well this time because I realized that in the VODs, and just in general, it's not super easy to read. Like, I'm going to bring up this was the setup that I had originally, where it was like I have the one window open so that you guys can see the tutorial that I'm watching, and then my main window open. But I think that these are too small. Like, I don't think that they are very good or very understandable to watch because this main screen right here is a big screen, and when you shrink it, it becomes really hard to read what I'm doing. So what I'm gonna do instead, I think, is just I'm gonna take the I'm gonna take my 1080p screen or maybe this screen, and I'm gonna make it real big. Let me see. I'm just gonna move it over here, and then I'm just gonna do. What was the thing? Was it Alt F? Yeah. There we go. And I'm just gonna stream the I'm gonna stream my display instead of trying to split it up. Let's see. There we go. I'm just gonna make sure that it's fully. And then I guess I'll man. I'm gonna have to do, yeah, I'm just gonna have to do the full thing. That's fine. So now you can see my whole last desktop. I've been working on modding Skyrim as well, so you'll see I have all these fucking Skyrim modding tools on here. I'm not entirely sure. Let me look at my phone, or the stream on my phone, just to make sure that it's readable, because I think it's just that it looks small on my preview. But yeah, as per usual, this isn't necessarily an entertainment stream. It's going to be mostly just me working on game dev shit. It's not going to be incredibly... I'm not going to be talking. There's going to be extended periods where I'm going to be quiet, so keep that in mind. I get pretty focused. Let's see, where else? Okay, I'm just adjusting my stream overlay. Chat box, recent events, alert box. I'm almost wondering if I should just use the 1080p screen instead. I don't know. I'm gonna bring up Godot real quick just to see how legible it is on the phone. I mean, it's fine. You can still kind of see what I'm doing. I'm gonna move this down here, probably. And I guess I'll move the recent events down there. Also, hello, Madison Leo. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I saw your message before I went live, but I'm gonna actually put the recent events above. There we go. That's pretty nice, I'd say. Only bad thing is that it kind of there's a little bit of text down there. I guess I could just put, I'm just gonna put my camera all the way at the bottom and then, oh god, no, that's not what I wanted. Fuck, shit. And then I'm gonna put the recent events up here instead. Nice. Very good. Okay. I think that'll work best. Is just to have the camera down at the bottom right. And then have the recent events above that. And we should be good. Okay. But yeah, instead of having you all watch my, watch the tutorial with me or whatever, you'll probably just, you'll hear it in the background. You'll hear his voice telling me how to do things. So... He smells like he's been outside. I mean, he might have been by the window. Not really. He smells like a cat. All right. We'll get into it. I'll first show you all what I changed. So the past the things that I've gotten done in between the last game dev stream and now, I'm pretty sure I got the room manager input response. Well, I'm a GFX artist, and this week I'm on a 50% discount. I appreciate it, but I do all of my art and graphics and shit by myself. So, but I'm sure your work is great. Thank you for the offer though. But yeah, I do all of my art and everything on my own. I'm pretty stubborn in that way, where I'll, especially with my games and everything like that. I do my stuff pretty much solo. I have considered, I'm pretty sure I've commissioned at least one person before. Like I commissioned a profile picture when I started streaming. But since I started doing more art stuff this year, I've been pretty much replacing all of my art with my own art. I've been replacing the stream art with my own art. But yeah, I do commissions as well. So if anybody watches or is watching, and I do have an art account. I do have an art account, and it's linked below if you want to check out my work. Let's see. So hey, that's fun. My Stream Elements came up with the with the link to my Twitter right after that, as if it knows what I'm talking about. It does do it on a timer, so it's definitely coincidence. Okay, but yeah, where we left off last time, I did some refact, but I can't say you can pay me first. We've got so mainly the things that I got finished was figuring out how to connect the exits between rooms. So we have the room manager connects the exits between the rooms. So if you don't mind following me back on Twitter, then I will show you some of my work. Hey, I appreciate the offer, but I would also appreciate if you don't advertise yourself on my stream. But thank you, though. I appreciate it. But we got the connections between each room going both ways. So whenever we make a new room, because like the whole idea of what he was trying to put together was make it so that we can easily add rooms, and when we add rooms, it automatically connects both ways. So that's one thing that we got. We also managed to add some items. So like this item script right here will take so it exports the item name and the item type, and makes it so that you can edit it in the editor with this export tag. And then when it initializes an item, the item name is set by the item name and the item type. And there are a bunch of items, like over here, where did I put the types? So there's item types, and we put this is a resource file that will store all of the item types, and I'm sure we can make more resource files to like store other shit. He said that he really liked enums, so we can put like multiple item types in here. He only put the key item type, but I put my own item types in here that I want to eventually. I'm thinking like these would be items that you would go through. You would go through as you're going through the dungeon. These are the item types that you would get. So there would be like keys to open doors, repair kits to like heal yourself or whatever, batteries which would like replenish your fucking whatever special abilities, weapons that you can pick up, stat upgrades, because that's kind of like a key to roguelikes or whatever, is that you get stat upgrades as you go along. I'm not sure if I'm going to want that to be something that you pick up or something that you get through levels and experience, but we'll have to see how that goes. And then there's just like a straight buff. Like there's stat upgrade, which would boost your stats, like the numbers that you have. And then the buff is like a, I guess you would say, like it expands like the capabilities of your weapon or whatever. Kind of like if you think back to like Dead Cells or like Hades or something, there are upgrades that will upgrade your like your base stats. I don't think this is in Hades. Hades doesn't have stats, but like in an RPG roguelike, you would upgrade stats, and then there's like buffs to like to items or like attacks or whatever. But I don't know. I'll probably have to revisit this and kind of hash out what I want to be items and what I want to be integrated into like the experience system. But yeah, we did that. A bunch of functions got put in. So like function get room description, get exit description. these all are functions that grab the name of the room and the description of the room, which we have kind of like a little map here. So like these are room instances. And as you can see up here in the script variables, there's the room name, the room description, and you can edit that in the editor and it will appear right here. So these rooms will show in the editor, and eventually at some point we could make like a map out of these by just kind of taking a viewport and moving it over this arrangement right here. We would just have to put it in how they're connected. You know, we'd have to kind of turn it into a GUI a little bit, but this is nice. And then we have scripts that will set the name and the or they don't set. So these functions don't set it. They return it in the console. So let me run the game really quick just to show you what. This is a good way to show you what all we have. So when you first open the game, it'll say, "Welcome to the adventure, type help to see available commands. You are now in an unknown room. It is the room which you awoke in. It is dark, damp, and littered with broken machine parts." And then it'll tell you what items are in the room, and then it'll tell you what exits you can go through. So currently, if you just put go, it'll say go where, because that lets you know that there's a second word that you have to put in. So we could type go east, and now to the east we will go to the barracks, and we are now in the barracks. It is what appears to be a large room with strange rusted metal coffins lining the walls. No items to pick up. That's another important thing. If there are no items in the room, it'll say no items to pick up, and then it'll tell you the exit is back the other way. So, and then we can type help as well, and help will tell us what commands we have. Go, direction, and then help. We don't have a whole lot of commands yet. We can't pick up the key that is in that room, but we can go back to the room, and then it'll reset it back to where it was. And so that function of get the description and get the name of the room, that's what this fills in. But this is basically all that we've gotten so far. And this took a lot of setup. Like there's a lot of code that is behind just these two rooms. But once we have this all set up, it's going to be really easy for us to add new rooms and add new items. And it'll hopefully be like pretty modular that we can like customize it pretty easily as well. But yeah, I mean, so far it's going pretty well. I'm pretty excited about I'm not so much excited about how the game how the game is running, or like how much content we actually have in it, but the potential for how all of these functions and scripts are set up is starting to come together in a way that has made me think about all the different ways that I could implement and customize it on my own. But yeah, I'm gonna start getting to work on continuing the tutorial. And like I said, I'm going to be watching it on my other screen. So if I miss a comment from somebody, don't feel too bad, because I'm going to be looking at my other screen and it's covering up my OBS preview. You know, I might just shrink my OBS window and then just display the tutorial next to it. Perhaps. Perchance. Yeah, I'm just gonna fucking... Because I can do this. Or actually... Can I just take the... Oh, no. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna minimize this Chrome window, put it in theater mode, and then I will pull up OBS and put it right next to it. Okay. That's how I am too, where the cats will get on my lap because I just don't move. I will sit in my chair and not move. Yeah. I do be liking to sit cross-legged. Sitting is the autistic way to sit, and it is the superior way to sit. I don't. Yeah, I don't like putting my feet on the ground because it feels like I'm putting too much weight into my butt and it like hurts. Get down. Get down. Why are you always all over the place? Look at this boy. He is literally, he will let me manhandle him and then he will like be purring aggressively in my hand. He loves me. He is a sweet baby. A sweet baby. Okay. Well, I think I've got a good setup where my chat is next to the tutorial window. So that's nice. Okay. Let's see if I can get this tutorial going. How to make a text-based game in Godot. I did actually used to call it Godot, and I very quickly adapted to calling it Godot, but I kind of wish it was just Godot. It makes more sense for it to be called Godot. Godot. Okay, I'm gonna enable the preview just so I can. There we go. All right, and then I think we left off. Yeah, player inventory and picking up items.
We're gonna build on our item system from the last video and actually be able to take and drop items. So you'll see if I say take key here, we pick up the key, and I can type inventory to list out what's in my
he's
inventory.
very quiet. That's why.
Do that, I have the.
Why is he so quiet? The video's at max volume.
Key, and now I can.
Weird. Okay, yeah. So I guess I need to lower the game volume even further. That's fine. Or lower the music. I called it a game. It's game music. I'm not playing a game.
Drop the key as well, and it'll room. And if I go back to this room, you'll see the key is still there, and I can take it again. So we'll have a robot. In this video, we're gonna build on our item system from the last video.
That's weird. It's like, are the other videos of his this quiet? I feel like it wasn't.
In this video, you're gonna learn how to use
they are still that quiet. Odd.
In this video, we're gonna build on our item system from the last video and actually be able to take and drop items. So you'll see if I say take key here, we pick up the key, and I can type inventory to list out what's in my inventory. And you'll see that when I do that, I have the key. And now I can drop the key.
I'm just gonna turn it up a bunch, and then
I'm
going to
if I go back to
check out. I'm gonna sound check real quick on my phone real quick.
And I can take it again. So we'll have a robust inventory system where you can take and drop things as you want. Let's get started. Alrighty, so in the last video, we added items to our rooms, and we're displaying those items whenever a player goes to a room, but we didn't actually have a way for them to take things. So let's first implement the take command, at least as much as we can, and then we'll get to implementing a player inventory that'll keep
I think
track
that's working
of what
fine.
items the player currently has. So first off, we need to actually add a new command, which is great. We haven't done this in a long time. So now instead of go and help,
I think that's pretty balanced.
Add one more, which is going to be take. And take is going to need a second word, right? So I'll do return take.
All right.
We'll add this function in a second. Return.
So I'll restart that real quick. I am going to have to put on my headphones. I kind of wanted to take my headphones off, but I think... Can I hear him better now?
In this video, we're going to build on our item system from the last
I
video.
cannot.
And
I'm going to have
actually
to
be
put
able
on
to
headphones. That's fine.
take and drop items. So you'll see if I say take key here, we pick up the key, and I can type inventory to list out what's in my inventory. And you'll see that when I do that, I have the key. And now I can drop the key as well, and it'll be back in the room. And if I go back to this room, you'll see the key is still there, and I can take it again. So we'll have a robust inventory system where you can take and drop things.
This
as you
part
want.
is going to
Let's
be...
get started. Alrighty, so in the last video,
This part is
we
primarily
added
going to be about
items to
picking
our
up the
rooms,
items
and we're
that we
displaying
made
those
in the
items
or that
whenever
I
the
made
player
in the
goes
last
through, but we didn't
the
actually
last
have-
tutorial. I'm currently on part 11 of this tutorial, and there are 18. So we're over halfway done. And this has been a very good tutorial. I really appreciate the efficiency that he has implemented. Like really thinking ahead and making sure that in the end we're gonna have a very good modular system to set up.
have a way for them to take things. So let's first implement the take command at least as much as we can, and then we'll get to implementing a player inventory that'll keep track of what items the player currently has. So first off, we need to actually add a new command, which is great. We haven't done this in a long time. So now instead of go and help, we're gonna add one more, which is gonna be take. And take is gonna need a second word, right? So I'll do return take.
Ooh. Take. Okay, so he's in the command processor. And we do get to add a new command. We really haven't added a new command in a while. I also really like the Metroid music. I keep forgetting how good and atmospheric Metroid music is. Very nice. I also keep forgetting that I have to kind of scooch over a little bit to type effectively, because my keyboard is kind of like offset to the left a little bit. Okay, so between go and help, we're just gonna have take.
Take, we'll add this function in a second. Return take, second word. And so we'll add a take command after go. So I'll do func take and then second word, which will be a string, as we know. This will return a string, as all of these functions do. And here we're going to actually implement taking. So first, similar to our go command, if we don't have a second word, we need to say if second word equals empty string. We can return take what. So return take what. Similar to go where, we say take what. Easy enough. And here now we can do return, I'll just say to do. Okay, so what we need to do here is actually go through all of the items in the current room and see if the item that the player entered lines up. And what we could do is use like the array.find or has function. We're not actually going to do that because we want to do some custom handling as at the same time that we're looping through our array. So what I'm going to do is say for item in current room.item. So we're going to go through the list of items in the current room. And then what we want to say is do an if statement here. And we want to say if second word. And then important here is we want to make sure that we lowercase this so that we don't have to worry about cases not lining up. So I'll say to lower. So if the second word to lower equals, our item.item name, because remember we need the name, and then we're going to do 2 lower on this as well to make sure they're both lowercase. So if they equal each other, then we need to do some specific things. First, we'll just return here and say found it. Okay, so what we can do just to test is make sure that this is actually working correctly. So if I run our game and I say take, it should say take what? If I say take sandwich, it should say to do, because we didn't find it. And if I move this over, you'll see that to do is what happens when we get the end. But if I say take key, and notice up here that key is capitalized in our actual item line, but if I lowercase it, it should pick it up. So we found it. So it is correctly finding items when we type them in. So that's good. Now we just need to actually handle doing something with those items when we find them. So we're not actually going to be able to handle doing something with those items yet because we haven't implemented an inventory. We can't take the item and put it anywhere yet. What we can do is change this text here though. So we know that if we get to the end, we've gone through this for loop, we've iterated through all the items in the room, and we have not found what the player wanted to find. So what we can do is add some text here that we return just to tell the player that. So we can say, there is no item like that in this room. Again, kind of a wooden sentence, feel free to change it as needed, but this is just going to tell the player, hey, you entered this item and we couldn't find it here, so sorry about that. And they're going to know that they either have to type something else in or that they just can't, that's not an item that's in the room. Toward that same point, we can change our text here to be something like, you take the, and then we'll do a space, and then we'll just concatenate here and say item.item name. And we'll also do to lower on, we don't need to do to lower yet. We'll kind of feel it out. What I should have done, actually, if I go to our room manager, is change this key to be lowercase here. And we should just keep with our convention of having everything be lowercase. But, so now if I try this out and I say take key, it'll say, you take the key, which is that's a much better message there. And if I say take bread, it'll say there's no item
take bread
like that in this room. So now we've got good and helpful error messages that are going to tell the player either, hey, you did pick this up, or there's no item like that. All right, so that's a good step. And I think now we've got everything we need in our basic take functionality to start actually adding a player inventory. And so the way we're going to add our player, first, if we go to our command processor, we'll remember that we created this initialize function. And this is where we pass in our starting room. Well, we're going to do a pretty similar thing for our player. So I can say variable player, and again, this will just be null, and we'll require our initialize function to take a player here. And so what we'll do is say self.player equals player. Okay, so this is all well and good.
Self.player equals player.
But we don't actually have a player yet. Another thing is we're going to have to actually make sure we pass in a player script here, or a player object, excuse me, when we do command processor.initialize. So I'll say variable player. This is
in the ready function.
It's just going to be null, but I'll just pass it in right now so that we've got that. Okay. Here, or a player object, excuse me, when we do command processor.initialize. So I'll say variable player. This is just going to be null, but I'll just pass it in right now so that we've got that. Okay, so this sounds good. What we need to actually do is create our player node. So in order to do that, I'm going to right click on our game node at the top of our scene tree, and I'm going to do, I'm just going to hit this plus button here, that's what I meant, and I'm going to create a new node, just a regular node, not a node 2D. I'm going to drag this to the top of our tree so it's easy to find, and I'm just going to call this player. And what I'll do is attach a script to it that will also be called player. And so what I want to do now is within our game script is we're going to add another onReady variable here. And I'm going to say onReady var player. And this is going to be player. Okay, and now we can get rid of this player variable we did on line 25, which is just a placeholder to get rid of the warning. And so now we're going to be, when our game starts, saving our player to a variable, and then passing it into our command processor so that it can work with it directly.
How's it going,
and not
BJP?
have to
Nice to see
signal
you.
up and down all the time.
We're just working on the RPG. Still going through the tutorials, but we only got 7 more to go, and I think I could probably knock them out this time. So, or this stream. So, hopefully that'll work out. They're like 20 minutes each though, so maybe not. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like 30 minutes. That's an hour, 2 hours, 3. Yeah, no, we probably maybe it's possible. I would have to go for maybe 4 hours, but I could always just finish it on my own. But yeah, at least this is definitively, if we do the game dev stream again next Saturday, I can come back and start customizing.
So this is going to be really nice. All of a sudden, we've wired up a player to our command processor. Now all we need to do is just add the necessary functions to our player. Okay, so if I go to our player script, I'm going to delete all the stuff here. And what I'm going to do is pretty similar to what we did for our rooms. I'm going to say variable inventory. And you could also call this items, but I'm just going to call it inventory because it's specifically indicating that this is a list of items the player is holding, not just items that are in a room. And we'll make this an empty array. Now, eventually, you might want to have some constraints around what the player can hold. Maybe they have a weight limit. Maybe they have a carry limit. You know, they can only have 5 things. You can implement that and decide that on your own. Up until, at this point at least, maybe in the future we'll get this, but I wouldn't count on it. I think we're just going to let the player hold an infinite amount of things. And so what we can do
We'll probably
is say,
implement an inventory limit at some point.
Item, or whoops, sorry, function, pick up, item. And then we will pass in an item here. And again, we'll use our item type. And then what we'll do is just say inventory.append item. And so what we're going to be doing is now in our command processor, whenever we say take something, we can say player.pickupItem this item. And we can also remove that item. Remember, we'll need to do both from the room. So now that we have this pickup item function, we can just call it like I just said. So we'll come down to our take function down here. And now instead of just returning this, we will also return this string, but we will say player, since remember we are saving the player up top, so we have access to him. So we'll say player.take item, and then we just have to pass in the item, which is just going to be item. Now, remember, we're adding this to our player's inventory, but it's still going to exist in the room, so we need to actually remove it from the room. And we never actually implemented a function to do that, so we'll come back over to our room now, and right below add item, we will have a similar function, which will be function remove item, and this will be item, or we'll type it as item, and within an array, so if I start typing items here and get the autocomplete, you'll find 2 functions that let you get rid of things, erase and remove down at the bottom. Now if I hit remove, you'll notice that for a parameter, it takes an integer, a position, which is an index, so you're removing the first item or the 10th item. We don't know where item is going to be in our item list, so what we want to do is erase. Now erase is less quick, it's less optimized than remove, because remove just goes straight to an index. With erase, you have to search through it. So it's not the most efficient function, but our item arrays are going to be like 5 items max, most of the time 1. So this is totally fine. No big deal here. The only other thing to note too, though, is that you've got to handle the case where the variant you pass in, the value, is not actually in your array. Right now, we can do the dumb thing and just assume that we're always going to call this where we're passing in an item that's in our array. It'd be good to add some error handling to that. But all that to say, this is fine for right now to remove an item, but you're probably going to want some better error handling in case this item does not exist first. Anyway, so now that we've done that, we can come back to our command processor and not only take the item, but first we can do room .
We'll just add a to-do comment there in case he doesn't get around to the error handling himself.
Or current room dot remove
For item in current room.
item, item. So whenever we take an item, we're going to remove it from the room and then take that item. Okay, and I'm noticing before we start this that I've actually called this function take item right here, but in the player we called it pickup item. I think because take is the actual keyword we're using, we'll stick to that. So let me go back to our player and change this to be take item, just to make it a little bit more consistent. Okay, now if I run this, we should see, if I type take key, we take the key. But now watch what happens if I try and take the key again. There's no...
Nice. Okay, let me make sure it runs correctly. Take key. You take the key. Now let's try it again. Nice.
Item like that in this room, which is exactly what we want. And so if I go east and then go back west, we should see no items to pick up. So that's how we know we're actually picking up an item and it's getting removed from the room. Now we don't have a way to output to the player what items they have in their inventory, so we need to add something like that so that you can check what you currently have. But this is really cool. All of a sudden we can pick up items. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a pretty important feature to have.
11 tutorials in and we're finally picking up items
we've made some progress,
and
guys.
adding them to our inventory.
Video 10, 11 now, and we have a game with a lot of functionality, so we've been moving along, and I hope you're getting excited, trying to find some ways that you can customize and make the game your own, because we're going to be adding some other
I
cool
definitely
stuff
am
as part of this series. So anyway, I would love to see the creations you guys make and take with this, but let's add a inventory command now. So if I go back to our command processor, we can add another command. And I hope you're realizing too how easy it is to add new commands because of how we structured our command processor. Now, what I want for the inventory command is just to output the current player inventory. So maybe there's a better word for this. Maybe you want to have like a list command, for example. I'm not totally sure. You can name this command whatever you want. I'll just stick to inventory because I think it implies list out the player's inventory. So I'll say return inventory. We won't need a second word here because we are just listing it out. It doesn't matter. What I can do then, we need to make this inventory function.
And then we got to make an inventory function. Here in a second, I think after this tutorial, I'm gonna go through and comment on a bunch of these functions so that I can in various places so that I can really just kind of try to understand what is happening. And also just remind myself of how everything works and how it's all connected because I haven't worked on this since last weekend, I think. So I'm gonna go through and put comments on all the functions just to make it clear in certain terms how what each thing does.
So I'll come down here, I'll say function inventory. This will take no parameters, it'll return a string. And here we can just return, for now we'll return an empty string. But what we want to do eventually is build up an array of the items that the player is carrying. And so in order to do that, I think we can do something pretty similar to how we did our item array for our rooms. We can just kind of do this for the player. And so let me copy
item array for the rooms. Where's that at? Room.Godot, and he copied the get item description function.
Copy our get item description function in our room and bring this to our player. And remember, because our player is the place that we're keeping track of the player's inventory, this is also where we want to build up our inventory string. So I'm going to say function get inventory. And for now, this will just be a function that returns a string. It won't return the actual item. So I guess get inventory description maybe, since it's just getting
get inventory description.
Or get inventory list. You can call it whatever you want, but I'll just call it get inventory list for now because we're getting the item names, not the actual items itself. Let me just copy this code in. And so we'll say if inventory.size is 0. So if we're not holding anything, I'll say you don't currently have anything. And then if we are holding something, we can say for item in inventory, and we'll do item string dot item, and the code's all the same. We're just getting it from our inventory now. And then we'll just return inventory. I'll say inventory instead of items just to differentiate. And then item string. And so we were able to pretty much adapt the function we used in our room almost exactly and just rename a few things and have slightly different text.
Nice.
So now in our command processor, I can just return player dot get inventory list. Let me just make sure that's what I called it. Get inventory list, get inventory list. Amazing. So now if I run our game and I say inventory, you don't currently have anything. And I have to say take key.
Nice.
And now I say inventory. It says inventory key. Amazing. So now we are able to list out to the player.
It's really starting to pick up, and it's really cool to see all of the setup that we've done kind of come together and work.
Inventory, which is a huge bonus. We've already started implementing some great functionality here. Another thing I want to do also is I wish there was an easier way for us to automatically add new commands to help, but for now we'll just add it on our own. So remember, we had this help string here. We probably want to make sure we're updating this as we go. So I'll add our new commands that we added. So take, and then item, and then we'll say inventory and help. And again, maybe we'll find a better way to do this, but we're adding commands so infrequently now that I think hard coding this into a string and just trying to keep up with it is totally fine for now. It's not an ideal situation if you're actually making a bigger game, but for our case, it'll be. Okay, so we've added an inventory, we've added the ability to take items. Let's do one more thing to make our inventory kind of fleshed out and able to actually be useful, and that's to drop an item. So since I'm already at our help text here, let me just add our next command, which would be drop, and then item, just like take. And let's add a drop command. So I'll add it right after take here. I'll say function drop, and we will take a second word here, right? Because you have to pass in which item you want to drop. This will return a string, and we'll just do return empty string now to get rid of the error.
This stanky bass right here it's from Super Metroid. That makes sense. Very stanky bass.
You're right, because you have to pass in which item you want to drop.
So func drop, second word, string.
This will return a string, and we'll just do return empty string now to get rid of the error. Let's add our drop up in our first word match list here. So I'll say drop, and then return drop, second word, just like we've done before. And now we can actually drop. And so you can probably already think about how we're going to implement this. We're just going to get the player's inventory list and then loop through it and see if the item that we want to drop actually exists in the inventory. So in a similar vein as our take, I can just really copy and paste this first line where we're just going to check and make sure we have a second word.
If second word, return take what? Oh, okay, yeah. Drop what?
So we can say if second word is empty, we can say drop what. Again, this is another example of something that might be nice just to have a built-in function or whatever to take care of us for instead of having to always having to add this line. But for now, again, totally fine. We've only got a few commands. And now what we want to do is say for item in player.inventory. So we're going to loop through the player's inventory.
Player.inventory.
And we're going to do pretty much the same thing that we were doing up here with our take, where we're checking if the second word to lower is equal to the item.toLower. So I'll actually just copy this line, and we'll use it here, because it's going to work out just as is, because we're looking at our second word, that's the item the player typed, and then the item variable is the current item in the player's inventory we're looking at. And so what we want to do is, if these two match, we're going to do the reverse of what we're doing up here. So
if second... Hey, text-based adventure game time. How's it going, Tiger Storm? Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're doing all right. Yeah, it's it do be text adventure time, and it's coming together pretty nicely, I'd say. I'm really excited to to figure out where we're going to go with this after we're done with the tutorial.
We need to say current room dot add item. And remember, a couple of videos ago when we made this add item command, we talked about how we could use the same function for both creating items at the start of the game and for adding them later on. And now we're seeing the fruit of that. So it's super easy to add an item to a room because we've already got this function that works. We can just say to add this item, and then what we need to do is say player dot drop item. And we don't actually have this drop item function implemented. So make a note of that. We need to go back and add that, which we will in just a second. But again, just to make sure that we keep it the same as our take, we can copy the return statement we have here and say you drop the item name. So it's going to be exactly the mirror of what we're doing up above. Instead of the current room losing the item and the player taking it, now the player is going to lose the item and the current room will take it. So they're dropping it in the specific room they're in, and our text is going to reflect that. So super easy, really good, really easy to do. And here we can just say you don't have that item. Because remember, we're going to get to this case down here if the player tries to drop an item that they don't have. So now that we've added drop, let's run our game. First, let's type help, and we should see that our help text looks good.
Okay, let's test it out, make sure everything works. We've got help. That works. Then we do take key. Then we type inventory. And we've got a key in our inventory. Then we type drop key. Oh, actually it crashed. Let's see if it crashes for him too.
Go to a location, take an item, drop an item, type
Oh, we
inventory,
don't
type
have the
help,
drop item function in our player.
Drop,
that's why.
You should see drop what? If I say drop bread, it'll say you don't have that item. If I type inventory, don't currently have anything. But now if I say take key, we take the key. And if I type inventory, we have the key. And now if I say drop key, we'll see that we get an error because you remember a second ago when I said we needed to still implement drop item? Well, I forgot. And
it's okay. I drop stuff and it crashes all the time.
Actually implement it. So let's pause our game or stop it.
Whenever I drop something in the kitchen, my brain
crazy
crashes.
How that works. I'm glad I said that to you all because I totally forgot. Which is just classic. Happens. So if we go into our player script here, similar to how we have a take item function, we can say function drop item. And again, we'll take an item, which is of type item. And this is going to be pretty much the same thing we did with our room here, where we made sure that we were using erase rather than remove. Because again, we're trying to remove something by its value, not by its index. And so we can do the same thing here. Instead of items though, we'll say inventory. So inventory.erase, and then we'll pass in item. And simple as that.
Oh my God. I just had one of those, have you ever had one of those moments where you look at a word and you're like, that doesn't look right. That's not how it should be spelled. I was looking at item and I was like, why is it? It's weird. It looks weird.
And again, remember, we should probably do some checking here to make sure the player actually has that item. Because now look what happens. If I run our game, and I have nothing in my inventory now, right? But if I try and say drop bread, it'll say, oh, you don't have that item. So it's good that we're handling it in our command processor, but if we weren't, we'd get some weird functionality going on here. So anyway, all that to say, it might be good to add some error handling to your take and drop here. But if I run it and see it happen, I can say take key, and then I can say drop key. So we drop.
Move error handling for the following two functions from command processor to here. It's spelled item, obviously. Itame.
Drop the key. And now if I try and take the key again, it'll work because the key is in that room. So let me drop the key. Let me go to the next room. No items here. And if I go back, we should see the key there again. Cool. So wow, everyone, look at that.
Nice.
I mean, we now have a robust inventory system. We've got a player that keeps track of their inventory, and you can take and drop items at your leisure. And if you wanted to add a weight system or a max carry system and make that kind of part of the puzzle of your game, so maybe you can only carry certain items at a certain time, you've implemented that entirely. All you would have to do is just add a weight variable in your player. And
I'm not sure if I would want to add a weight system, because the character that we're going to be controlling is going to be a robot. So like for the most part, you're not really affected by a weight limit, except in extreme circumstances, like literally you're, I don't know, maybe we will. I guess it just depends on how flushed out we want the stat system to be.
Picking something up that went above that. You'd
might just put a hard limit on how many things you
well,
can pick up.
and just kind of go through your inventory and make sure you were lower than your max weight. So we're not going to do that yet, at least, but just wanted to say that so that if that's something you want to do in your own game, it's really easy to do. I mean, we're pretty much there. Anyway, now we've got our inventory system and it's all working. This is really cool. I hope you enjoyed this video.
Nice. You can also add shorthand, so I triggers the inventory function too. Yeah, I think that's going to be something that might come later. That's going to be expanding the command processor to because we could go into the command processor and, like, I imagine for like maybe for this match case, we could add something that would be like, you could multiple different variations of these could do the same thing. So I don't know if you could do, like, I wonder if can I put a comma here and put I? So like we could put a comma there and then type I. You don't currently have anything in your inventory. So yeah, I think that would actually be easier than I expected it to be. We would just have to put a comma there in the match case and then add whatever the variation would be. I'm not sure how well we would be able to implement something like an autocomplete, where it's like you can type, instead of just typing I, you could type like the INV or INVE and it would automatically know which one you're using. But we'll see how we can go and how we can change that. But yeah, it would definitely be very efficient. I'm gonna go grab another beer real quick and go to the bathroom. I will be right back.
For your life?
I could dance for my. I can fairly say that I can probably dance for my life.
Dance like they're shooting your teeth like that.
Oh look, it is the old fishy boys. Say, we're back. By the way, this is a public service announcement. ACAB means Paw Patrol. Fuck the Paw Patrol. They are class traitors who are here to indoctrinate our children into thinking that cops are cuddly little boys. He's getting too close for comfort. Oh, jeez. Fuck! Damn it! Ooh. This one's gonna be rough. P-stream. Okay. So let's go through. I'm gonna go through and comment a bunch of this stuff just to make sure I understand what is happening. Okay, so function to function that handles take command. Rivet interrupted the P stream. Check to see if player entered a second word. Iterate through item list for the current room. Check that the item in question is in the room. Then remove it. If true, remove item from room and add it to player inventory. Okay, function drop. Function to handle drop command. Check. To see if player entered second word. Oh, this is the Metroid Fusion soundtrack. Iterate through player inventory. If item exists in inventory, remove it and add it to the room. Function to handle inventory command and return inventory list. What do you think the largest text-based adventure game is? I don't know. There's a lot of multi-user dungeons that are probably extremely large. Like that was how people played MMOs back in the day. Was through multi-user dungeons, which were text-based MMOs. So I imagine some of those are probably really big. I don't even know if there are any that exist still. There probably are, but all right. I think that's everything in the command processor. Exit. So variables to store the rooms. Variables to store the rooms. The room you're in and the room you left. If current room is room 1, return room 2. Else if current room is room 2, return room 1. Function to return the room you are not in. Hey, I gotta go. See you later. Hey, see you later, Tiger Storm. Thanks for stopping by. We're probably gonna have to change this at some point to do add more rooms, because I think this is only gonna work if we have like every room that we have only has one other room, you know. Okay, function, grab ready, or, okay, yeah, the grab focus, we already got that. That's good. Okay, for items, export variables to change to set item name and description. Item names and descriptions. Oh no, that's not description, that's item type. In editor, for the objects, or the items themselves. They're not objects, so I'm not gonna call them objects. Okay, in main we've got quite a bit, so let's see. Section to import nodes. Input response instance. Player. Function to retrieve. Oh, to return. Room.godot has the most places that we need to go through and comment. Erase function might not be efficient with large sets of items. Okay, I think that's good. There's surprisingly less that I need to figure out and comment. I think that's pretty much it. All right, on to the next tutorial. Modules GD script tokenizer condition. What? Okay, never mind. I thought that error was going to make the game crash, but I think we're fine.
If you did, a like and subscribe.
Okay, on to the next tutorial. Yeah, we probably won't get through get through the rest of them, but that's fine. Items and autoloads. I'm pretty sure I've watched
In this video,
this.
you're going to learn how to use, and you want to make these.
Okay, yeah, I have. So we gotta watch part 12.
In this video, we're gonna actually add locked exits to our games and implement keys that will actually unlock those exits. So here, if I'm in a room and I say go north, you'll see that it is currently locked. But if I take a key and then I use the key, you'll see that it unlocks the door to a shed. And so now if I go north, it'll actually let us go through. We're now in a shed. We've unlocked the door. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. It's gonna be amazing. Let's get started. So in our last video, we added a key that the player could pick up and take and drop, but we didn't actually do anything with it. We don't have locked exits yet. So that's what we're gonna do finally in this video. So the first thing I wanna do just to demonstrate or to use for making locked exits first is add a new room to our game. And I know our room system here, our map has been pretty lame with just 2 rooms. And unfortunately, we're not gonna flesh it out all the way right now, but we will add one more room. So I'm going to click on our room manager here, and then I'm gonna hit the instance button and I'll find room. So we'll create a new room. And what I'm gonna do is just make this a shed. And so as I'm calling this shed.
Okay, what's gonna be the room that we want to lock? There's gonna be 2 exits, and I kind of envision this starting room to have 2 different exits. So we'll do 1 exit goes to the barracks, 1 exit goes probably accesses the main tunnel. I don't know, like a probably just a tunnel. We're just gonna call it service tunnel, I think, because the way that I envision this playing out is that it's like you wake up in this underground complex. Service Tunnel 1, that's what we're going to call it. And we're just going to put it to the north. Yeah, we'll put it to the north. We're just going to call it Service Tunnel 1 for now. A long...
room. Basically what I want to do is have our house that the player starts in, then they can go outside to the east, and then to the north is a shed. So I'm going to select and move our shed room to the north of outside here, and we'll start giving it a name. So a shed, and remember we're going to do all lowercase here because that's the convention we'll be doing. And this is just going to be a dusty old shed used for storage. Okay, so now we've got a shed room, which is awesome. So what we want to do is, currently we have our key in the house. I want to move this to be outside so the player can find the key outside somewhere and then use that for the shed, just to kind of demonstrate the different controls we have. So if we come into our room manager here, you'll see we're doing a bunch of stuff with our house room here. What I'm going to actually do is move line 9 down one and change this to be outside room. So it's going to be our outside room that has the key. And then I'm also going to connect an exit for our outside room. So outside room.
Yeah, I guess we'll put the key in the barracks.
Room that connect exit, and this is going to be to the north because remember we placed our shed to the north of our outside room, and we're going to connect our shed room. Okay, so now we have our house outside and the shed, and it's all connected. And remember, I'm connecting rooms from the inside out, where the inside is where the player starts. So we start at the room the player starts with and then move outside. So house to outside to shed. That's the order I'm connecting, just to make sure we're not overwriting exits. So if I run our game, just to make sure this works, we'll see that there's no items now in our house.
There's no items in there now. Oh shit, it's not listing the exit that we had.
So if I go east, we'll see there is a key. And look, we've got 2 exits now. We can go west to go back into the house, or north to go into the shed. If I go north, we are in a shed. Amazing. It works. And this is a nice testament to how easy it is to add rooms to our game using the system we've created. So it is nice to see that, and it's nice to see that when we have multiple exits, things work as we would expect them to. So all in all, this is going really well. The only problem now, though, is that our shed is not locked off the start. We need to make it locked, so we need to have locked exits. And in order to do that, we're going to come into our room manager here, and we're going to modify our connect exit function, or make a new function to create locked exits. So in order to add locked exits, what I'm going to do is come into our exit here, and you'll remember that we have a room 1 is locked and a room 2 is locked variable. I'm not totally sure if I gave an explanation for that in the last video, but basically the reason I wanted to do this is so eventually maybe in your game you want it where both sides of an exit could be locked. So for example, you could have a key that lets you go from a south room to a north room, but you would either need another key to go from the north to the south to go back again, or it just could be a one-way exit. So that's why we have both of these, so that you can only unlock one way, for example, and can't go back another way. But for our purposes, for this video where we just want simple locked rooms, all we're going to modify is this variable, the room 2 is locked. So what you need to do is just unlock room 2. Will only lock the room that is being connected to. If you wanted to simplify this, you could get rid of both of these variables and just have a exit is locked variable. It's probably easier, but again, I just wanted to show this as an example in case you didn't want one-way exits or etc. You can modify this in your game as needed. Anyway, so we've got this room 2 is locked variable, and what we need to do now is come into our room and look at our connect exit function here. Now, we've got this one big function that is doing all the connecting of our exits, and I think what we want to do here, there's a couple ways. One is we could add a bunch of different parameters here, so start adding a is locked parameter, etc. And we could keep doing that every time we have a new situation for a door, like is one way, is locked, whatever. But that's going to get overwhelming pretty quickly if we just have all of these different parameters that we might not need at a given moment. So what I want to do is have a private underline connect exit function that we can then make a bunch of other public connect exit functions that have specialized features. So like connect exit locked, connect exit normal, etc. And they all call connect exit under the hood and pass in these parameters. But that way the player does not have to worry about, or the developer doesn't have to worry about passing in all these parameters in the correct order. And if that doesn't make sense, you'll see what I mean in just a minute here as we get started. So in order to do this, let's make a new function above connect exit. I'm going to say function connect exit locked. And this is going to take the same parameters that our connect exit does. So it's going to be direction, which will be a string, and room, which again, remember, we're not typing just to prevent, I think we're preventing circular dependencies with that. And we don't need any other parameters for this. And what I'm going to do is say connect exit, and I'm going to say direction, room, we're just passing through here. But what I'm going to do is turn connect exit into a private function. Now in Godot, at least in Godot 3, Godot 3.3 is what I'm using, but any Godot 3, until the new GDScript updates in Godot 4, you can't actually make a function private. So the way you designate a function as being private is by adding a underscore before it. This kind of tells the engine, hey, this is private, outside things shouldn't call it. And you'll see that's convention used all over the engine. There's a bunch of built-in functions that have these underscores in front of them, basically saying, hey, don't call this somewhere else. But it's really just a courtesy. An outside script can call these functions, but you're asking the engine, or you're asking the developer basically not to do that. So again, this isn't truly a private method or a private function, but we're going to use it like that and respect, as developers, the underscore here as best as we can. So now connect exit is a private function. We're not going to call it anywhere else, and so this is going to need a bunch of parameters that can handle basically any kind of exit that we might need. So what I'm going to do is now pass in an is locked parameter. This is going to be a Boolean, and we're going to default it to false, so it will default to unlocked. And now what we can do here is, first we have to change our connect exit call in connect exit locked to have the underscore. And now what we can do is actually pass in an is locked parameter, which is going to be true. And remember, whenever we're calling connect exit locked, we obviously want to lock the exit, so we can always pass true in here. And now we also need another function, since this is connect exit is now a private function and we don't want to call it outside or anywhere else. We're gonna need another function that tells it to create an exit that is unlocked, and this is going to be a public function. So we'll just say connect, whoops, wow, that was terrible. Connect exit unlocked. And this is going to take the exact same parameters. I could have just copied them, but direction and a room. And we're going to do, again, just pretty much the same thing. Connect exit here, direction, whoops, direction, room. And then remember, we have a default value here for false, so we don't actually need to pass in anything for is locked. But just for the sake of being explicit, I am going to pass in a false, since this function is called connect exit unlocked. So it's just making it clear if someone looked at this, hey, we are not locking this exit. So now we've got these two public functions that we can use to create exits that are locked or unlocked respectively, and we don't need to call this connect exit one anymore. Now, we haven't actually changed the code of our underline connect exit function to actually handle locking doors or not, so that's what we can do right now. And remember, looking at our exit script here, I said we were just going to handle, for now, locking room 2. This room 2 is locked. Again, if this is confusing, you can just change it to just have one is locked variable, but for now we're just going to handle the room 2 is locked. So in our
Yeah, eventually I do want to make it so that the is locked is in one thing.
in our room, what I'm going to do is say exit dot room 2 is locked, and we're just going to set this equal to is locked. So whether the second room is locked is just going to be dependent on whether the is locked parameter we're passing in is true or false. And so now all of a sudden we've got this underlying connect exit function that can handle locking or unlocking rooms, etc. It can do whatever we need, but we've got really easy to use and well named. You know, anyone who saw a function called connect exit unlocked would instantly know, oh, it's creating an exit that's unlocked. And so we've made our developer experience better because developers don't have to worry about all these different parameters here. And by developer, I mean future you when you come back to your project and you've forgotten how your code is set up. If you haven't experienced that, you will. But anyway, so we've made this a really nice interface and we're good to go. We're actually locking exits now. So what we need to do here is actually change our house room to use connect exit unlocked, and then our outside room to connect exit locked, because remember, we are locking our shed. So now we have rooms and exits that are locked and unlocked. Now we need to actually implement using our key to unlock them. So we're going to have to add a new use command to our command processor. Before we get started on any of that though, first, we never actually implemented preventing the player from moving to a locked room. So if we go to our command processor and look at our go command here, we'll just see the way we're doing it now is we're saying, hey, if the current room has an exit, then we go into that exit. We actually need to check and make sure that the room is locked before we let the player go through, or make sure it's unlocked, otherwise the player can't go through. And if it is locked, we'll print out a little error message. And so in order to do this, we're going to do something similar to this get other room function we created on our exit, and we're going to let the exit itself determine if we're trying to go into a locked room or not. So in our exit, we'll come over to the script, we'll add a new function called function is other room locked, and again we will pass in the current room because that's really all we have access to right now. And then we're going to do something very similar to what we did in get other room. So we're going to say if current room equals room 1, what we're going to do is return, so say return room 2 is locked, because if we're currently in room 1, we only want to go.
I fucking love the Metroid Prime title music. It's so good.
And we're going to do the same thing for the other side of this equation. So elif current room equals room 2, we will return room 1 is locked. And if neither of these are the case, which again it shouldn't happen, we're just going to we're going to print out an error and just say, actually let me just copy this line from line 28 down on get other room. We're just going to return an error saying the room you tried to find is not connected to this exit. Again, it shouldn't happen. And we'll just return true and say if the player tries to go to an invalid exit, we'll just say it's locked to prevent them from going through. But again, we shouldn't get there. But just as a quick explanation, again, what's happening here is, say we are outside, right, in our outside room, and we try to go to our shed. Well, if our current room is the outside room, we want to see if the shed is locked, which it will be. But say we get to the shed from some other path through our world map. In that case, if we're currently in the shed, and room 1 is not locked, if the outside isn't locked, we want to just be able to move through. We don't need to unlock it. And I think it makes sense because if you are inside the shed, even if the door outside is locked, you can unlock it from the inside. So it should make sense. But again, feel free to simplify this in your own game. And what you might also want to do in your room is have a connect exit locked both ways, where remember here we were just doing is locked and we were just locking the second room. Again, you can make another function that locks both sides of the room. You can customize as needed, but we're just doing room 2 for now. Here we were just doing is locked, and we were just locking the second room. Again, you can make another function that locks both sides of the room. You can customize as needed, but we're just doing room 2 for now. So now we have our exit, and now we have this is other room locked function, which is going to actually return a bool. So let's add that.
I'll just add, I'm adding to-dos here as I go so that I can, later when I do want to customize it, I can add that.
That return type here. And so this is good. Now we can actually call this from our command processor. So if I go over here, we can say, now remember, we're getting our exit here. So we can say if exit dot is other room locked. We're not getting autocomplete, so let me just come back here and copy this. Is other room locked? We need to pass in a current room, so we'll say is other room locked, and again we're passing in current room. So if it is locked, then we are going to, instead of returning this response, we're going to do an error message and just return you can't go there, that room is locked. So we can replace this and say that exit is currently locked. So this will tell the player, hey, that exit exists, but it's currently locked and you can't go there. So if the room's locked, we return this error message. Otherwise, we actually let the player go through. So we are not letting the player go through if the exit is locked. Okay, so now that we've got locked exits that will prevent you from going through, let's actually give it a try. So if I run our game, we should be able to go east, not locked. Now we're outside. Now if I try to go north, we'll see an error message. You can't go north,
Nice.
The exit is currently locked. And if I go west, we can now go into the house. So things are working as we are, or as we would expect. We are not able to go through locked exits. Now we just need to make sure that we can actually use our items to unlock an exit. Okay, so we are almost there, and before we actually add our use command to our command processor, we've got to run into item and actually provide a way for our item to tell what using it does. And the way we're going to do this for now is very simple and probably not the best way, but just because all we have are keys, there's only one type of item right now, it's going to be totally fine. And as we add more item types, later, or you do in your own game, you can find a better way to do this. But for now, we're just going to say variable use value, and this is going to be null. We're not going to type it, we're not going to do anything, we're just going to keep it as a generic use value that an item can set to be literally whatever it wants. Now for keys, this use value, we're going to set it within our room manager to actually be the room it's going to unlock. And we're going to do like our checking to make sure of what type of item it is within our command processor. So this is going to make sense in just a second, but for now we need to come into our room manager, and here we are going to say for our key, we're going to see key.useValue, and this is going to be shed room, because our key, when you use it, is going to unlock our shed room, and we know it's going to unlock something because its type is a key. And like I said, we're going to add this functionality, this checking, into our command processor for now. Ideally, like we've done with exits, we want to move that out of our processor and into our item as much as we can. But again, sometimes the best way to do things is find a way that works and then make it better later on when you have a better idea of how you're going to actually need to use it. We just don't have a great idea of how items are going to play out right now since we only have one type. So we'll just do the simple thing. So with that said, let's add our use command. And what I'm going to do, actually, just after inventory, I'll say function.
Is this from AM2R? It is. It is from AM2R. That's weird. I've only played AM2R once, but I knew exactly where this soundtrack, or where this track came from. For being a remake like this, they did a really, really good job with getting like the atmosphere and the general vibe of how a Metroid soundtrack sounds like. It's very good.
Function use, and again, The same as all of our other commands, it's going to return a string. And the way we're going to do this is it's going to be pretty similar to drop. So first, we need to check and make sure it has a second word because you have to use an item. And then we are going to loop through all the items in our player's inventory. So I'll copy all these. And so we're going to loop through the items in the player's inventory. And then if we find the item, that's going to be used, then we're going to do something with it. Else, if we get to the end and we don't find it, we're going to return this. So we'll say, you don't have that item, you can't use it, etc. Oh, and I totally forgot, we need to pass in our second word here as a parameter. Okay, so now we're used, then we're going to do something with it. Else, if we get to the end and we don't find it, we're going to return this. So we'll say, you don't have that item, you can't use it, etc. Oh, and I totally forgot, we need to pass in our second word here as a parameter.
I kind of want to replay AM2R, to be honest. It's a really, really good game. It's just unfortunate that it does not, that they did a cease and desist on it. Very, very unfortunate. However, the magic of the internet is that even if there is a cease and desist on if there is a piece of software that was released on the internet, for the most part, if there was a piece of software that was released and there was a cease and desist on it, it is very likely that somebody has re-uploaded it somewhere else. It's not actually gone. It's just you can't go through any you can't go through any official pathways to get that piece of software.
Okay, so now we're good. Now we have a use command. It doesn't do anything, but we can actually start adding that functionality. And so in order to do that, there's two things we want to do. The first is actually get what type of item it is. So we know that if we get within this if statement, we found the item and the player has it. And so if we have found it, we're going to match, and we'll say match on item.item type, which we know is a property on our item. Since we go back to item, we see item type. So we're going to match on item type, and we're going to say if types.item types.key. So if it's a key, we're going to do something. If it's an invalid type, which is any other type, we're going to, well, for now we can just return error. Try to use an item with an invalid type. Okay, so we can, hopefully we should never get to this error case, but we'll just have it there just in case because we need to return something. Now, if it is an item type of key, we need to actually unlock a door. Now, this is extra complicated because we need to make sure that the exit or the room for which this key unlocks is actually connected to the room we're currently in. So the way we're going to do that is take a cue from our go command where we're looping through all of our current exit or all the exits of the current room. Here we're getting all the keys, but remember it's a dictionary and our actual exit resources, our exit values, are the values of that dictionary, not the keys. So we're going to grab this, and instead of doing keys though, we're going to change this to be values, which is another Godot function that will let you get the values of a dictionary. So we're going to change it just to be values. So now we're going to be getting all the values, but we don't want an if here. We need to say for exits in current room .exits.values. So we're going to go through all the exits and we're going to say if exit, and remember this is was one of the reasons why we were specifically focusing on room 2 of the exit, not room 1. So we can say if exit.room2 equals item.use value. So, okay, before we go further on this, let's explain what we're doing here. So if exit.room2, again, remember when we lock something in our room manager, when we connect exit locked, it's
Oh my god,
locking
can I
room
not
2,
spell value?
which is shed room. So it's going to set shed room as room 2 and be locked. And then in our command processor, item.use value, remember for key items, our use value is the room itself. So we're setting the use value to be the shed room, and we're also locking the shed room in our exit. So what we're going to do here is say if exit.room2, which is the shed room.
This is another track from the AM2R soundtrack. They did an absolutely fantastic job with the Hydro Station soundtrack. They did such a good job. It sounds so much like Metroid Prime music. And apparently here, coming up in 9 seconds, there's a choir that is really good. Here it comes. Amazing. It's way too good. Way too good.
Equals item.use value, which will also be the shed room if we are in the outside room. If we're in the correct room where we can unlock this, then we're actually going to unlock it. Otherwise, we're just going to keep moving through. So if this is the case, then we're going to unlock something. If this is not the case, we're just going to get to the end of our for loop, and we're going to return that item does not unlock any doors in this room. And so what this is going to say is tell the player, hey, you tried to use a key to unlock something, but this is not the right room to unlock it in. So it's going to give the player a helpful message, but it's not going to unlock anything. Now, this is kind of complicated. There are
Or exit. Okay, there we go.
better ways to do this, which again, experimentation on your own will help. One way to make this better is if we actually started implementing third words into our command processor. So that way we could say use key north, for example. Then we wouldn't have to do this lookup here. We could just check the specific exit that the player enters. It would make things a lot better and give the player a bit more agency because they would be trying specific doors. I think it's a better player experience to do that. And I'm hopeful that we'll get to third words in our command processor before too long, but for now, again, we're just going to do something and try and get something that works, so that's why we've got this complicated loop here. So if exit.room2...
So I'm going to add a to-do here.
equals item.use value, we've actually got to do two things. We need to, one, delete our key if it gets used, and two, unlock that exit. Now, we don't have any functions right now to unlock exits on our exit script, so we need to add that first. So what we can do, actually, I mean, we could use a function. For now, like what we can do is just say exit.room2 is locked, and we can set this to be false. Again, we're assuming that room 2 is locked here. There's a chance it might be, but again, we'll assume that we don't have to do that check now. And so what we also need to do now is to remove that item from our player inventory. In order to do that, we can use the function we used for our drop command, which is player.dropItem, which will remove it from the player's inventory. And you might be asking, okay, and don't we need to also delete that item so it doesn't take up any memory? Well, remember, this is a really cool thing about using a resource for our item, is that resources are reference counted by Godot. So when there's nothing left in our game that references them anymore, they'll get deleted or garbage collected automatically.
That's pretty cool.
So we don't need to manually delete them. And once it's out of our player's inventory, then it's not being referenced in that array, and so it's not going to be referenced anywhere else in our game. So once we drop it, the only place it'll be referenced is as item within this function, and once this function's over, all of a sudden it's got no references anymore. And so it's going to get automatically deleted, so we don't need to manually delete.
Wait, drop item. See, player, drop item, inventory, erase. Okay, that makes sense. I thought that the drop item function drops it in the room and it stays in the room, but if it's that function in the player in the player script, then it'll erase the item.
We just need to remove it from our player inventory, and Godot will handle the rest under the hood. So here we are. We have a really complex, super nested function. I hate doing stuff like this, but sometimes, again, this is just how we're doing it for now, trying to get something that works. So we have a use command that we're going to go through all the items in our inventory until we find the item that was specified, and then we are gonna, if it's a key, we are going to look for the exit that matches that key's value, and if it's there, we are going to unlock the room. So there we go, we've got all this. Now the only other thing we can do here, and that we should do actually, is return a string telling the player they unlocked the door. So we can say return you use, and then we could try and make this fancy by saying you use the %s, and then this is going to be the name of the item to unlock a door to the, and then what we're going to do is just or here we can just say to, and then I'll do another %s. Again, we will, we can make this better later on, but we're just going to concatenate in some strings here. So the first one, you use blank, is going to be the item name, so we'll say item.item name, and then the second one, the unlock a door to whatever, is going to be the room, so, or the other room, so we'll say exit.room to room name, and we'll just make sure it's item name and room name. So in item, it's item name, and then in room, it is, scroll up to the top, room name. Okay, so we're using the right variables here, and now we should see, if we play our game, we should be able to test it and make sure it all works. We test and make sure it all works right after we actually add it to our command processor. I totally forgot.
Oh yeah.
So we scroll up to our command processor. We're going to need to add our use key here, or use command. So same as we've done before with everything else.
Well, I already did that.
And then we're just going to say return use second word, just like all our other commands. Okay, now that we've got that, we're actually ready to run it and see. All right, so we are in a house. If I go east,
so the exit's locked.
We'll see that we are now outside. If I try going north, just again to make sure and test, our exit is currently locked. Let's test all of our error messages here. So what I'm going to do is say take key. We'll pick up the key. I'll go back west and try and use the key just to make sure we've got a good error message here. So if I try to use the key within our house, it says that doesn't unlock any doors here, which is perfect. That's what we want. Now if I go back east, I believe, if I try and say use key now, it should say you use key. Okay, it should be a key, but whatever. You use key to unlock a door to a shed. So it's not the most grammatically amazing error message, but it works. It tells the player they've done something. So that means the shed should be unlocked. So now if I try and say go north, we're in a shed. And if I go back south, I can go north again. The door should remain unlocked. Perfect.
Nice.
Wow, so it was quite a lot of work, and there's some stuff we're probably gonna have to change as we expand our game, but we have doors that are locked, and we can tie
How's it going? It's just Zach. Nice to see you.
Tie items to those doors to unlock.
We're just chilling, working on this tutorial.
Where we can lock doors in our game.
Hope you're doing all right.
A really awesome room and item system.
Like I said, this is different content from my Risk of Rain or just regular gaming streams in general. I tend to be pretty quiet during these game dev streams, but we be working.
Move and expand on going forward. Thanks so much for watching.
Okay, we'll do. So now we're on part 13.
Welcome back to.
Oh my god, he adds a lot of rooms now. New rooms and refactoring exits. Okay, so this is mostly just going to be like a maintenance part of the tutorial where we're going to add a bunch more rooms and probably streamline the exit.
To the Godot Retro Text Adventure tutorial. It's been a second since I've recorded a video for this series, but I'm excited to get a couple more out there just to round out this tutorial series and make sure that y'all have everything you need to make your
I want
own.
to be staying, but can't for long, as in a few minutes I'll be streaming Dead by Daylight. Hey, no problem. Thanks for stopping by regardless. I hope your stream goes well tonight.
Retro text adventure games and expand on this tutorial as much as you might want. As a quick note, ever since Godot 3.4, a new native class has been added to the engine called Room. So previously in this tutorial, we've been using the class name Room to refer to our rooms in our game. We're going to have to change that now because in Godot 3.4, that's a reserved keyword. So in order to do that, you'll see I've got Room up here. You'll see this error popping out everywhere. The class Room shadows a native class. We're going to have to change it. And the way I'm going to do it, and you can give it whatever name you want, but I'm just going to call it Game Room instead of Room. So I'll change the class name within our room script.
Okay, that's pretty much what I did, is I just made it New Room instead of regular Room.
Change your scene name from Room to Game Room, and then you're also going to want to change the references to Room everywhere else in your code. You can also change your Room script's file name. So just as a heads up, we're not going to get to that in this video because I recorded this back in 3.3 in the same with the next video, but just wanted to point this your way so that if you're seeing this error, you know how to fix it. So toward that end, let me go through the changes I've made off camera just to expedite this video a bit. And it's really just adding rooms that round out my own game's world. So I've kind of talked a little bit, you know, I had the shed room and the outside room, just kind of rooms that were placeholders, but now I've finished all the rooms that I want and have made a plan for an actual story, an actual sequence of events for our game. So the way it's going to work now is you wake up in a shed. Down here you can see you're going to start off in a shed, and this shed is going to be behind an inn, and so you can go to the back of the inn. You'll see there's a door to the inn there, but it's going to be locked. And so you can actually, this door north into the inn's kitchen to the back of the inn is locked, but we're actually going to add a new exit key, which is path. So you can say go path, and there'll be a path from the back of the inn that takes you to the village square. From the village square, you can go to the inn door, enter the inn. There will be an innkeeper there you can talk to get some valuable information. You can also go to the inn's kitchen and unlock the door at the back of the inn so you can move freely between the back of the inn and the inn itself. So we'll keep our locking and unlocking functionality there and keep our item using, but I'm also going to add NPCs in a future video where we'll just have a way to talk to an NPC and they'll give you some basic information. But it's not going to end there. We're also going to have a way where you can win the game, just again, trying to provide a small win condition, where you can win the game by going out of the town and escaping or leaving the town and getting out to the forest. Except in your way is a guard who won't let you go through unless you recover something he lost. And so we're not only going to add NPCs you can just talk to, we'll add a give command where you can give an item, and doing that will
Wow, there's a lot going on in this part of the tutorial.
Like an unofficial quest system. So that's all we're going to add in the next few videos, but I just wanted to go through and show kind of the progression of the game that I've developed here, and that'll make more sense for the changes that we'll make in the rest of this video. So what we actually want to do in this video is a couple things. We want to rework our exit system a bit so that it's a little bit more robust, and we also want to provide ways where we can override the names of exits, so we can define custom exits in both directions that the player will type in to move between them. So in order to do that, let's go to our room manager script here. And you'll notice I've replaced all of the code that I used to have here with code that matches our new game layout. So you'll start in the shed because it's first in our room manager. You can go west to the back of the inn. At the back of the inn, you can go along the path, but right now, the way that the game is set up, this is going to throw an error because if you go to our room script, you'll remember we only had the cardinal directions. Fortunately, our system is really easy to add new ones to, so that won't be an issue, but we'll have to do that. So we'll have to add a path key here, and then from the back of the inn, you can go to the village square. The village square will have 3 different exits to the inn, to the gate and then also to a field.
We're gonna have to
where
come
we'll
up with a
recover
lot
the
more
guard's
rooms.
lost item. If you go to the indoor, you can get inside the inn. If you go inside the inn, you can get into the kitchen. And then from the kitchen, you'll see we have this connect exit lock to the back of the inn. And we'll also have the key in the kitchen there, just to make sure that's working. And then you'll also see that our gate to the north of town has a locked exit to the forest. We won't actually provide a key to unlock this. We'll unlock it by giving the guard back his item. But what would be really cool is we don't always want to have directions. You know, we can make, instead of saying west, east, north, it's just hard to remember for the player. So having something like path, or I had for the indoor here, you can go inside or outside. That makes it really easy and clear from the name of the direction what the player is going to do. But what if we could have even better ones there where it wasn't the same both ways? So here we can make it so that inside automatically has the reverse of outside, which is nice. It would be great if by default the game would try and provide a matching exit on the other side, but it would be perfect if we could have an easy way to override what the reverse.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I will be right back. Oh, jeez. Fuck! Damn it!
Kind of like a veiled threat.
Are you dance?
Are you willing to dance for your life?
Yes. I could dance for my. I can fairly say that I can probably dance for my life.
Dance like they're shooting your teeth like that.
Oh look, it is the old fishy boys. Say.
Oh my god, no! I hate those things. All marriage incest by proxy. Amazing. Amazing! Pizza just bought a sub and gifted it to one of my mods. Amazing. Amazing. There's gotta be a way to make you immune from that. Thanks for following, Robot. I appreciate you. Because we're gonna die. If not, my ship's gonna explode. Where is it broken at? Hello? My ship exploded. I thought we were gonna be able to get out. Damn it. Well, we should go. You could do it too. He could do it. And I'm sure there are AI out there. If you couldn't get Gilbert Godfrey to agree to do voice acting for every single part in the animated Lion King, like take out all of the voice acting, leave the music. I'm sure there's technology to do it. Take out all the voice acting. Ask Gilbert Godfrey, hey, will you, if I pay you, will you do all of the parts in the Lion King? And even if he says no, there's probably AI technology out there that could do it for you. So make sure, but make sure to remind him of that. Make sure you tell him, hey, I could probably get a robot to do this, but I came to you first, you bitch. And if he declines, then just have the robot do it. And then you'd have an entire dub of The Lion King that's entirely Gilbert Godfrey. And it would be amazing. You would make lots of money off of it, I guarantee. Well, I mean, is it... Alright. I'm probably going to finish this last tutorial, and then I'll probably call it a night there.
First exit name would be to make it nice for the player. So that way, if we wanted to have the exit from the gate to go out into the forest be forest, but then back to be gate, but we didn't want to lock it in, so every time we had a gate or forest in our game, it would have to be these two. We wanted to provide an override. Well, we could do that pretty easily by just changing some of the code in our room connection script. So that's all the stuff we're gonna do, is just beef up how our room exits work in this video. So first, let's add path and inside, because these are two new keys for our exits that we have. So if I go into our room script, which is where we do the connections, I'll do path first. So I think if we do path, we really just want, and let me just copy this line here. So I'm gonna add a new key for path, and I think what we really want here is it to just be path on both ways. If you go from one part of the path to the next room, you can take that same path to get back. So I think just having path on both sides of the exit here makes sense. But let's also do inside and outside here. So we'll see if I do inside, then we can do room.
Okay, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm probably going to have to do a little bit of a thinking on how I'm going to want to structure a lot of this, because he's kind of using some custom stuff. But yeah, I'm probably going to, I think I'll just call it here, and then I'm going to do a little bit more experimentation and trying to figure out how exactly I want to structure this. I'm probably going to it's going to be effectively the same things that he has implemented in his personal version of this. But I need to figure out how exactly I'm gonna do that, and what they're gonna be called, the descriptions, where I want to go from here, because I have the starting room, the barracks, the service tunnel, and then from the service tunnel, I'm not sure where I'm going to want to go from there, honestly. So I'm going to think on that a little bit. But right now, we have really good bare bones foundation to work on this, and we can add stuff really easily. So I'm really excited to see how this comes out. But yeah, I'm going to upload the second part of the VODs for the game dev streams. I'm gonna do that today, the second part of that, and then I have the third part that we did today, and I'm gonna upload that as soon as I'm able to. And then yeah, we're gonna be back on Wednesday with our first Skyrim Special Edition stream. I'm going to be playing through Skyrim probably from now until January, I'm sure, because most Elder Scrolls games take us quite a while. I'm pretty sure Morrowind took us 18 streams, and then Oblivion we didn't even get to finish, but it was getting up. It was 18 streams when we finished, and we didn't actually finish the story. I think we finished Shivering Isles, and that was it. But yeah, have a good start to your week. Take care of yourself, stay hydrated, and we will be back on Wednesday at 4 p.m. with some Skyrim. So, and then next Saturday we'll be doing more of this game dev stuff. I'll probably work on this a little bit during the week and try to plan out and structure out how I want to put this together. But yeah, have a good rest of your week. Stay hydrated, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you later. Peace out.